Hey guys, today we're talking about converting decimals to percentages and then percentages to decimals. So kind of like order of operations, when you write PEMDAS on your paper, when you're working with decimal and percentages, write the words decimal and percent on your piece of paper in alphabetical order. So decimal comes first and then percent. Okay, write this down. This is going to help you know which direction you need to move your decimal place. We know it's 2 hops, either to the right or to the left. Okay, so write on your piece of paper decimal percent, so you know which way. So if I am starting off with a decimal, okay, over here, if I'm starting off with a decimal and I'm going to percent, you are moving to the right. So you are going to move your decimal place to the right 2 times. If you are starting off as a percentage and you're moving to decimal, okay, you wrote this down on your piece of paper so it's easy to see, we have to go to the left. Okay, so for decimal to percent, go to the right, percent to decimal, you're going to the left. 2 hops, always 2 hops. Okay, a couple things that I want to talk about before we move on to our practice problems. All numbers have a decimal place. Okay, you might not see it, but it's always there. Okay, so this whole number 57, that does have a decimal place. We just don't write it in there because we don't need to. It doesn't have any decimals after the decimal place, so we don't have to write it in, but it is there. So if you ever have a whole number, this is where our decimal goes. It goes after our whole numbers. And then we know that there are endless invisible zeros, but we don't write that either because we don't need them. They have no value. But this decimal is always going to be there. So if you have a whole number, know that the decimal place is there. It's just after all of our numbers. Okay, the second thing that I want to talk about is what makes this a little bit tricky. We know that a percentage is out of 100. So here I have my 100 grid. If we had some number, let's say 3%, okay, 3%, what does this look like on our 100 grid? Well, percentage is always out of 100. If I have 100 boxes, 3% would mean that we have 3 shaded in, right? It is possible, this is what makes it confusing. It is possible to have a decimal percentage. Okay, so instead of having 3%, what if I had 3.5? Is it possible to have 3.5%? What does this look like? It is possible. And what it would look like is 3 total boxes shaded in, and then a little bit more, not quite 4, but just a little bit more there. Okay, so it is possible to have a percentage be a decimal. But as long as you keep track of whether your number is a decimal or percent, has that percent sign, then you should be good. Okay, so just know that it is possible for us to see percentages that have decimal places, but we're going to practice some now. All right, so I'm going to practice. I'm going to do 6 problems going from decimal to percent, and then 6 problems percent to decimal. So please feel free to try these problems on your own, pause the video, try it out, and then see what I do to see if you get it right. Okay, our first one here. So again, this time we are moving from decimal to percent. So that means I'm going to move my decimal place over to the right 2 times, 2 jumps. Okay, 2 jumps. So here I have 0.78. Here's my decimal place. I'm moving it to the right 2 times. So 1, 2, and this is going to be my new decimal place. So 1, 2. Here's my new decimal place. I don't care about this one anymore. I've moved it. I've shifted it over. So what does this equal? 78%. No matter what, we are moving two hops. No matter what, only 2 jumps, but always 2 jumps. So this next example, I've got 3 numbers there. Should I just decide to jump 3 times? No, only 2. 2 hops. So here's my decimal. We always start at our decimal place. And then I jump once, twice, and then I'm done. So here's my new decimal point. Okay, sorry, it's a little shifted over. It's between the 3 and the 6, so this is no longer there. I'm going to rewrite that. So 83.6%. Okay, so same thing. I moved it over 2 times, 2 hops. I know that I'm going to the right because I wrote this down on my piece of paper. Decimal first, going to percent. Okay, let's try again. 2 more. We have some more decimals. We're still going to percent. Okay, so I'm going to the right, 2 jumps. All right, this time I have a 0. What should I do? Same thing. Start at my decimal place. We're going to the right, 2 jumps. 1, 2. Okay, so start decimal, 1, 2. So here's my new decimal place. I don't need this anymore. So that is going to be the same thing as 0.7%, or the same thing as 7%. So I don't really need this 0 anymore. I don't need this. This is 7%. Okay, what about if I only have this one number? Should I just jump once and be done? No, always need to jump 2 times. So if you have to jump over this hole right here, we have a number. It's invisible. There's something sitting there. It's an invisible 0. Okay, so there's an endless number of zeros after our decimal place. So I'm really jumping over this invisible 0. I'm always jumping 2 times. Okay, so once I jump, here's my new decimal place. I don't need that. So this is 20%. Okay, let's try 2 more. 2 more decimal to percent. So again, I am moving to the right. Okay, because you wrote decimal and percent down on your piece of paper in alphabetical order. So we're moving to the right. Same thing. We started our decimal. We move 1, 2 places. Here's my new decimal point. So we have 601%. Okay, so this example had a hole. This was our first example with a hole. Same thing. Move that decimal over to the right 2 times. Okay, here's a whole 45. I don't see a decimal place. Where's my decimal go? I said this in the beginning, right? If we have a whole number, that decimal place is there. It is after our whole number. Okay, and then we have endless zeros after that. Okay, so I'm starting at my decimal place, and I've got to go to the right 2 jumps. 1, invisible 0, 2, invisible 0. Okay, so if you want to write those invisible zeros in, here they are. So our decimal place is now right here, not here. So this is 4,500%. Okay, so you're always moving your decimal place over to the right when converting to a percentage 2 times, whether you have 2 numbers, 1 number, 3 numbers. If you have a 0, if you have to jump over an invisible 0, you're always moving it 2 times. Okay, what about percent to decimal? This time I am moving to the left. Same thing, same process though. This time we're moving to the left. Okay, now you're still moving a decimal. We know that our percentages can have a decimal place. Okay, so this whole 4%, where's my decimal? My decimal really is right here. And I'm moving over to the left 2 times. So 1, invisible 0. So here's my new decimal place. So that means here's my invisible 0. That's no longer where it is. 4% is the same thing as 0.04. Okay, now we have a whole percentage, 89. Where's my decimal place? Right here after our whole number. And I'm moving to the left 2 times, always 2 times. 1, 2. So here's my new decimal place. So 89% is 0.89. 2 more examples. No, 4 more. 4 more examples. Ooh, that is a very, very big percentage. Same thing, percent to decimal, we're moving to the left 2 times. Okay, here's my decimal place. 1, 2. Here's my new decimal place. 5.60. So 560% is 5.60. Do I really need the 0? I don't. You can take that away. Same answer. Okay. 2.5%. Here's a percentage that has a decimal. Same thing. We're going to the left 2 times. Start at your decimal place. 1. Should I just stop after that? No, I should not. Okay, we still have to do 2 hops. 1, 2. This time I jumped over this invisible 0 right there. Now my new decimal place is right here, not right there. So 0.025 is going to be our decimal. Okay, 2.5%. It's the same thing as 0.025. Okay. 2 more. If I'm moving from percent to decimal, which direction am I going? To the left. How many times? 2 hops. Okay, so we start at my decimal. Okay, so I noticed that I don't have any numbers to the right, to the left. So should I just jump to the right? No. Gotta go in the right direction. Percent to decimal. We're moving to the left. Start your decimal. Invisible zero. Invisible zero. Here's my new decimal place. Put in some invisible zeros. And there it is. 7% is the same thing as 0.007. Okay, if I have a whole number 125, I don't even see my decimal. Where's my decimal? After the whole number, which direction am I moving? To the left. How many times? 2 times. 1, 2. Here's my decimal place. 1.25. So 125% is the same thing as 1.25. Okay? So that's it. Doesn't matter if there's 1 number, 2 numbers, 3 numbers, 3 digits. Okay? If there's zeros, always jump twice. The most common mistake is the number of jumps. You always need to jump twice and which direction you're going. If we're doing decimal to percent, you're going to the right. If it's percent to decimal, you're going to the left. Okay? 2 hops. All right, that's all I have for you.